Organized Retail Task Force, also known as ORCTF, as you know, in a very short time has made a very big impact, and we're pleased to work with them on this case and other cases. Thank you to the San Diego Police Department for your assistance, support, and partnership. Thank you to the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, Costa Mesa Police Department, Newport Beach Police Department, Livermore Police Department, and Palo Alto Police Department. So many law enforcement agencies and departments working together to get us to this point where we are today, and it's because we've worked together as a united front that we are able to make this announcement today. So thank you for everyone's everyday efforts in providing the highest level of safety, of service, and security for communities throughout California. Today is another example of the results of that important work, and this is done by law enforcement officers, head down, sleeves rolled up, not doing it for recognition, doing it because it's the right thing to do to keep our communities safe. They don't do it for thank yous or for recognition, but I want to thank them and I want to recognize them for their important work. We're proud to work with you. We're proud of today's result and looking forward to more positive outcomes towards public safety for our communities throughout California. A very special shout out and thank you to LAPD Chief of Detectives Alan Hamilton, who you will hear from soon. Thank you for his diligence in investigating this case, the lead investigator on this case. I also want to share a very special thank you. You'll hear soon from LAPD lead investigator Kimberly Santander, who will provide an overview of the case. Also, of course, want to shout out my team who are here and will be prosecuting this case and have teamed up with many law enforcement agencies throughout the state and are known for many things, including their collaboration and their partnership. We're, again, a proud partner here. Deputy Attorneys General Manisha Vadagama and, Vadgama. And Christina Gannon, thank you for your work on this case and others. Supervising Deputy Attorneys General Mike Whitaker and Patty Fuski, as well as Senior Assistant Attorney General A.J. Brady. So an important team working on an important set of cases, including this one. And as California's Chief Law Enforcement Officer, I am here to make sure our state remains the best place to live, the best place to work, raise a family, and run a business. And that's why our ongoing efforts to continue to crack down on organized retail crime will continue until we put a stop to this criminal activity. We know that the best way to deter organized retail crime and any crime is to make sure that folks who are thinking about committing the crime know that they will be arrested if they commit it. We have arrested a group of organized retail, those involved in organized retail crime, and are holding them accountable, charging them with multiple felonies. As you've heard, our message to those involved in these crimes is simple. If you organize coordinated retail thefts, if you steal from our businesses and put people in harm's way, if you try to make an easy buck off of other people's hard work, we will prosecute you, as we are today. So today is proof. The three suspects were charged and conducted smash and grab style thefts, where they'd run into stores, they would grab purses and other high dollar items, and they'd run out. To be clear, this isn't about a couple of one-off instances of a shoplifted Louis Vuitton wallet or a swiped pair of Prada sunglasses. This was organized. These were organized burglaries and attempted burglaries where suspects would rip the bags off the displays, even when the products were secured to displays with locks. These aren't victimless crimes. Sometimes the suspects would use force against workers as they ran out to force their way out of a retail store. Other times they overwhelmed the stores with large numbers of people in disguise, brazenly ransacking high-end products. Later, they'd resell the stolen merchandise through Instagram stories. That was their chosen platform for resale, Instagram stories. Depending on the store, the items that they stole ranged from a couple $1,000s up to, in one instance, $30,000 of product stolen at one store at one time. All told, again, at least $300,000 was lost, was stolen, and thanks to the work and partnership of LAPD's Organized Retail Crime Task Force, the criminal escapades of these three suspects have been put to a stop. The task force served as the primary investigators of all of the crimes. They conducted warrants, locating and arresting 2 of the suspects, while the third was already in custody. And importantly in this process, they also located a total of 5 firearms during the execution of the warrants. 2 were seized from one of the suspects, including a fully automated Glock pistol. A third firearm has resulted in charges in an unrelated case. DOJ has worked closely with ORCTF to file organized retail crime charges for cases that cross over several jurisdictions, and that is one of our primary roles here under an existing statute. The California Department of Justice, the AG's office, my team, have unique authority to prosecute cases when the thefts, when the organized retail crime has occurred over the span of multiple county jurisdictions, as this case is a prime example of. So while the ORCTF is a relatively new task force, again, they're staying busy and they're focused on holding perpetrators like the ones that we're holding account today to account. We're grateful that the LAPD alerted us after their thorough investigation revealed the 3 suspects committed crimes in multiple counties. So again, proud to be a partner with them. And today's charges are yet another warning, yet another example, yet another statement to those who are involved in organized retail crime here in California. We will arrest you, we will prosecute you, you will be held accountable. There will be consequences, as there are in this case. We're not turning a blind eye to these criminal schemes, whether it's stealing hundreds of thousands or sometimes millions of dollars in merchandise. Operations like the ones we're discussing today, they disrupt our economy and they endanger the public. They endanger workers. They endanger customers. So we're taking direct action to halt these criminal retail schemes in their tracks. We've been engaged in multiple cases. You are probably aware of the charges that we brought for a suspect running an organized retail crime operation in the San Diego County area, involving thefts from Ulta and Sephora and other retail stores. In January, we charged 3 people involved in burglaries and attempted burglaries carried out almost every other night for 60 days, mostly in Northern California and in Bay Area counties. We also arrested and charged 8 individuals that were targeting Apple stores and across 11 counties, resulting in approximately $1 million lost. We charged 4 individuals with felonies for the theft of more than $1 million worth of goods stolen from cargo trucks leaving Microsoft. So these are all examples of the different work that we've been doing over the numerous months and leading up to today, and that we will continue to do. We've proudly been involved in some of the biggest takedowns of organized retail crime in the history of California, and we will continue to detect, deter, dismantle organized retail crime with our law enforcement partners throughout the state. One important aspect is certainly the cooperation and the collaboration of retailers and online porters, online platforms is critical. We recently were engaged in a historic agreement with the platforms, with the retailers, to launch an online portal that allows anyone with information to contact the retailers and work with the platforms to identify those who are selling product that's been stolen online and harming our retailers. So that historic collaboration is critical in, again, detecting and identifying organized retail crime. We also are interested in hearing from you. If you have something to report that you've, as a member of the public, as a Californian, have seen, if you see something, you can say something. We can take it from there. You can go to our portal at oag.ca.gov/retail-theft and share with us the information you have about organized retail crime so we can help dismantle and hold accountable those involved. So organized retail crime continues to be a top priority for us. Across California, small business owners and workers and families are rightfully worried about organized retail crime. And we hear them, and when they say it's one of their top concerns, it's also one of our top concerns. And so we're going to continue to marshal the resources, the expertise, the intelligence of the California DOJ to put a stop to these dangerous and unacceptable crimes. Regardless of how the goods are stolen, if it's from a warehouse, a storefront, a train, or the back of a truck. We've seen all of these examples. Or how they're peddled, whether they're returned for profit or resold on third-party sites. We've seen all of those. Every form of retail crime disrupts the supply chain. It hurts retailers, it hurts businesses, and it puts the public at risk. Organized retail crime won't be tolerated, not by businesses, not by law enforcement, not by me at the California Department of Justice. Today we're making that abundantly clear, so let me say thank you again to our partners in this investigation. We couldn't have done it without you. Appreciate the support. Look forward to more important work in the interest and pursuit of public safety of Californians. And before we open it up for questions, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Hamilton. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Good morning, everyone. I'm Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton. I'm the Chief of Detectives for the Los Angeles Police Department. I first want to acknowledge and thank Attorney General Rob Bonta for his support in our efforts to make this city and this region a safe place to conduct commerce and to conduct retail operations. Just to be clear, the position of the Los Angeles Police Department is to maintain a safe business environment for our retailers and to not lose any retailers due to crime here in the Los Angeles region. So we are committed to that. We are going to continue to create a safe environment for our retailers, and this collaboration goes a long way towards that effort. Before I begin my remarks, I would be remiss if I did not thank our partner agencies that have been involved in the Los Angeles Police Department Regional Organized Retail Crime Task Force. And I want to also make sure that everyone's aware that we've been working since August in investigated more than 400 cases that have been focused on throughout the area. So the Burbank Police Department, the Glendale Police Department, the Beverly Hills Police Department, Santa Monica Police Department, and the Torrance Police Department have all assisted us in identifying suspects, investigating these crimes, and bringing these suspects to justice. I'm going to talk briefly about this specific case, and then I'm going to hand the conference over to Detective Kim Santander, who's the primary investigator on this case. A couple of things. So when we first started looking at this group of cases, we estimated that the loss could be in the area of $900,000. As we looked at the Los Angeles region, we were around $500,000. The filed amount, the $300,000 plus, is what we were conclusively able to file on these specific suspects at this time. This investigation is going to continue, and we will continue to receive information from our retail partners, so that amount may fluctuate, and there may be additional charges filed based on the continuation of this investigation. So it will remain an ongoing investigation with the task force, and I anticipate that we may identify additional crimes and we may get additional filings moving forward. In terms of the suspects were residents of the city of Los Angeles. Multiple search warrants and Ramey arrest warrants were served on the suspects. As a result of that investigation, conclusive evidence was found that links these suspects to these crimes. But I want to focus on a couple of specific things regarding this investigation. Quite often we talk about some of the flash mob style organized retail crimes that are occurring, and we think of them as nonviolent crimes. I want to bring the public's attention to the fact that we recovered multiple firearms, including a Glock handgun that was equipped with an automatic switch, which is a Class 3 device and is illegal to possess. That allows a Glock pistol to be fired in an automatic machine gun fashion. These are the suspects that this task force is dealing with on a daily basis here in the Los Angeles region. So I want to make sure the public understands, although it is a theft at its base charge, quite often these suspects are involved in robberies where they're producing weapons, and they're involved in robberies where they're using force. So this is not a situation where someone's going in and shoplifting. We're talking about the potential for a level of violence that is very, very dangerous for the community, and we are not going to tolerate that in the city of Los Angeles at any time. So through the effective hard work of the investigators and the task force, we were able to recover those firearms and take those off the street to avoid additional tragedies that these suspects could have perpetrated here in the Los Angeles region. The other part I want to bring the focus and attention to is, as a law enforcement agency, we make a commitment to the people that are conducting commerce here in the Los Angeles region. Our commitment is that we're going to provide the safest environment possible. And working closely with the Attorney General's Office of the State of California, we have provided that with these filings, and we will continue to provide that moving forward. In the coming days, weeks, and months, you will hear about investigations very similar to this one that are going to be brought to a successful conclusion. And I'm going to close with this messaging. The individuals that are involved in this type of criminality should be aware that they may have gotten away with a crime in the recent past, and they may think they're not being sought. I want to assure them that if there are suspects in organized retail crime here in the Los Angeles region, we're looking for you, we're looking to bring you into custody, and we're looking to charge you, just like we did here with the great assistance of the Attorney General of the State of California. We are looking to make this a safe retail environment, and the Los Angeles Police Department will keep it that way. I'm going to bring up Detective Santander for some comments.
Good morning. I'd just like to say that this case was by far my hardest case. It was not easy, but I did have the opportunity to work with a lot of different intricate parts, and we're still investigating this case. You know, there's one word that we use to describe these criminals, and that's prolific. But I'm going to use that word for our task force. Our task force is prolific. We're a nonstop. And, you know, I have the opportunity to work with the best detectives and officers on this task force. And apart from that, I have the best supervisors, and I get to work with the best attorney generals that there are out there. So we're not going anywhere. We've done a lot. We're continuing to do a lot, and we're not letting these criminals get by. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, I'm sure everyone's here to ask.
Question, if you would. How fast is the sequence of events from the time they actually hit a location to the point they're actually able to offload the stuff? And is it strictly online, or are they using other means to get rid of their stolen products?
There's criminals do different ways of doing that. This one in particular, they were offloading it very quickly.
How fast?
Within a day. Days. They will use Instagram, they will use their social media.
Do they know that you guys are tracking, or can you track Instagram that fast on this thing? Are they going to start to find different ways or alternate ways to try to sell this stuff?
They can, sure.
So they were just primarily driving up to these businesses, carrying out these smash and grabs, taking off with stuff and selling it at these different spots?
Correct. These ones in particular, yes.
And I know you guys had mentioned that they used force against some of the employees. Can you detail some of those attacks on employees?
For these individuals in particular, if they're opportunistic, so they wanted to get in and get out. So if one of the employees was trying to shut a door, they're going with them, then that's where they would get involved with the other employee. But they weren't taking out guns or doing anything of that nature.
What is your message for those on the mass media who were saying that LAPD, Sheriff Department were soft on crime, particularly on these smash and grab activities?
We're not soft.
I can address that.
Okay, I'm going to repeat what I just said, and I want everyone to understand what I'm going to say here. For those suspects that think they're going to come to the city of Los Angeles in this region and commit these kinds of organized crime, organized retail crime, we have a lot of people in custody, and we have filed on them, again, with the great assistance of the Attorney General's office. You will see in the coming days, weeks, and months that there will be additional arrests, additional filings, and additional very high bails. So, for instance, in this situation, we were able to get their bail up around $1 million. The ideal that someone will be able to come in, commit a retail crime, especially in an organized fashion, and then just walk away, I don't know where that came from, but that's not going to work in this city, period.
Alan, do these people, these three that you have that are in charge so far, do they pull additional people in there? Do they build crews, or are they just these three are the primary ones?
In terms of these, I'll say this, in terms of these specific suspects, this is where we are with this particular crew. I'm not going to reveal whether we've identified other suspects or have included these suspects with other crews or members of a crew. I will say this, if someone else was involved with these suspects, they're going to probably be in custody very soon.
They build the crews, in other words, in addition to the three primaries.
It is not uncommon for people to be in separate crews and to crew up at separate times, nor is it uncommon for specific members of a crew to work with another crew.
A question for the Attorney General. I know there's been some bipartisan efforts in Sacramento to repeal elements of Prop 47. You talked about how in this case they did use force against certain employees. Just recently we had an employee that works at a beauty store in Commerce attacked. She was actually knocked unconscious. What would you like to see repealed with Prop 47? I know there's a lot of different angles right now coming at it. What parts of this do you agree with, disagree with?
First, I'll say there's nothing about this case that deals with Prop 47. Nothing. We're way above the $950 threshold. We're in the $300,000 world. Every single charge in our criminal complaint is a felony. It's grand theft, which is over the $950 threshold. We have robbery to take into account the force or fear that was used against some of the workers. And then we have the organized retail crime statute to take into account those who work together in concert for resale of a product or exchange. So there's nothing about this case that it involves Prop 47. To your question, we do the title and summary at the California Attorney General's office for propositions that the voters will review for signature, and if they qualify, for a vote. There is a current title and summary being circulated for signature that seeks to make some amendments to Prop 47. There's also law in the state of California that allows for the legislature to essentially pull in that proposition, discuss it, debate it, and potentially provide a solution that is different but related to what's been proposed to the people. So I think that process is happening now. I know it is. I know that the leaders in both houses and the public safety chairs for the committees in the Assembly and the Senate are discussing the challenges that we face with organized retail crime and whether new approaches, what new approaches will be the best. Some of the ones that I have taken are the ones I think are the best. I think it's really important for retailers and platforms to work together and to work with law enforcement. Thus, our historic agreement with them to share information and to assist with investigations and to red flag and track those who are selling online, reselling online the products that they've stolen from retailers. It can be very frustrating to see your product being sold on a social media platform after it's been stolen from your store. And there's ways to address that. And I also like to follow the data and the evidence around and the criminal science, criminal justice science, which is that the thing that stops people from committing a crime is the belief that they will be arrested if they commit it. That's what we need to do, arrest people. That's what LAPD is doing. That's what the organized retail crime task forces are doing here in LA and the ones that I'm involved in with the CHP and across the state. We need to make it clear that if you commit the crime, you will be held accountable for the crime. And you will be held accountable for what you've done in a way that is appropriate and proportionate. And what is appropriate and proportionate here is the multi-felony charges that we've brought. So we need more arrests, more often, and that is what we're committed to at the DOJ. We're proud to be committed to that effort with those involved in the task forces, with the local law enforcement that we're working with. But I certainly think that the debate and dialogue that you'll see in the legislature will get at the very issue that you're addressing. I think that there will be an appropriate sharing of different ideas to address some of the challenges that we're seeing. But again, just to end where I started, today's organized retail crime that we are charging has nothing to do with Prop 47.
Sure, but there are multiple bills right now that have been floated in Sacramento. Just to specify, are there any that you specifically support?
About what?
With Prop 47, there's, I don't know, multiple bills have been rolled out. I'm just curious if there's any that you've seen that you support.
I think we, right now, can I be clear about something with respect to Prop 47, since you're asking about it? Prop 37, and I presume you were talking about the property crime side as opposed to the drug side of Prop 47. There's two aspects of it. Prop 47 was passed 10 years ago. It created a threshold of $950 from when theft from a retail store went from a misdemeanor to becoming a felony. That threshold was $950. That threshold is the 10th lowest in the nation, meaning only 9 states have thresholds that are lower than $950. Every other state, 40 states, have thresholds that are higher, meaning that the stealing of property from a retail store remains a misdemeanor above $950. In Texas, until $2,500. $2,499 stolen in Texas is a misdemeanor. It's not in California. It's a felony. So we already have one of the most strict thresholds in the nation. And we will always have misdemeanors and felonies. We just will. That's part of the criminal justice system. A misdemeanor is subject to jail time up to a year. A felony for prison for over a year. Misdemeanors are crimes. Misdemeanors are crimes. Misdemeanors are crimes. People should be arrested and held accountable for committing crimes, including misdemeanors. They're crimes now. When you steal less than $950 in a retail store, you can be arrested for a misdemeanor and serve up to 6 months in jail. We should be doing that. We should be holding people accountable, arresting them. So I think Prop 47 provides now for a whole set of important enforcement actions that can be taken. And we're proud to be taking them along with our law enforcement partners across the state.
On this particular case, when you got these 3 people here, it's fine to say you're going to arrest them. You got 27 felony charges. Many times the DAs will consolidate a reduced sentence. Are you guys going to be asking for maximum sentence here? What are we talking about if you convict these people on all the charges? What's the potential maximum exposure for that?
35 years for one of them. No, you asked maximum. So it's up to 35 years in state prison for the lead of the 3. Other ones are a little bit less.
No plea bargains. You guys are saying you want the full vote on this one.
We charged a complaint today, or recently, and you asked what the maximum exposure is. That's what the maximum exposure is. We'll continue to pursue the case. We've charged felonies for a reason. We've charged a robust criminal complaint for a reason, and we plan to hold these folks accountable for what they've committed.
I'm saying is you're going to have another news conference here to literally hang up scalps because, as you say, people, they commit crimes either in the belief they're not going to be arrested. The other thing is they don't believe they're going to get that much of a significant sentence. Are we going to see faces of those people you convict with a line underneath them, 30 years in prison, 35 years in prison, see you out on parole in the year 2055, something along those lines? Does that make a statement?
Sure. The finality of our convictions when we secure them, and I use the word when, deliberately and specifically, LAPD has developed a very good case, and we're confident going in with our charges. We're happy to share the final convictions that we secure for the cases that we prosecute. We've prosecuted other cases and secured convictions. Those are well known, multiple years in state prison. They are all a deterrent. I do want to reemphasize that the criminal justice science is very clear that individuals are deterred by the belief that they will get caught. It's not as much the length of the sentence. People don't say, I can commit this crime and I am fine doing 5 years. I just can't do 10. They don't think they're going to get caught at all. And so we need to hold them accountable after we catch them. But more arrests, more often, is a pathway forward that we believe is worthy of pursuing, and we're pursuing it.
Chief, towards the end of just a question for Hamilton, during the end of the year, because I think when there was a perception that there were a lot of these smash and grab thefts going on, certainly they were all over social media for a while. the perception is a lot of those have stopped. And I'm wondering if between these arrests and the ones that have previously been announced by LAPD and some other agencies, you may have caught somebody who, for lack of a better term, may have been a ringleader or an organizer. Do you have any confidence that that's happened, or are you still looking for people that are pulling the strings behind a lot of these?
So I would say this, in terms of the people we're arresting, we have made substantial inroads into the suspects that were originally involved in this activity a couple of years ago when it started really bubbling up. I have no doubt that through the diligent work of the Organized Retail Crime Task Force that some of the shot callers are ringleaders, as they've often been identified, have been put in custody, and some of them are currently awaiting criminal charges. Certainly in this case, I think we got a group of individuals that were heavily involved in this type of activity. Again, I'm not going to discuss whether there are others that we're looking for involved with this crew. Some of the other crews that we have arrested definitely had people that were working with other crews, and those people are in custody. As we start arresting and prosecuting, as Attorney General Bonta has said, as we start arresting and prosecuting people, the word gets out that Los Angeles and the state of California are not places to conduct this type of activity. I have all the confidence that as we move forward, in addition to the ones that we have arrested that would be identified as shot callers or ringleaders, we will continue to focus specifically on those individuals that we know are switching crews, are heavily involved in not only the actual theft, but the trafficking of stolen merchandise, and the ones that get the crews together. That often involves bringing juveniles in to commit felony crimes. We are going to focus on those individuals that are involved in that type of activity and prioritize their investigation, arrest, and filing.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. Thank you. So we're talking about like a really high profile like items and stores, but what about the small businesses? Because we have seen like an increase of family restaurants or family stores being Uberized, and they say they feel alone in these spaces. Like, what's the plan with those small businesses?
So in terms of small businesses, we have the ability to do aggregation in the state of California. So when we become aware that someone is involved in various crimes, like let's just say they keep going back to the same small mom and pop retailer, the same small business, we will aggregate those crimes and get to a felony amount, and then we will file felony on those suspects. I don't know if you wanted to address that.
Suspects? The name of the 3 suspects and their ages?
I'm sorry, did you ask the name of the 3 suspects? Sure. The suspects are Nicholas James Mallory, Isaiah Abdullah, and Ismail Baptiste.
Thank you for coming.
If they're approximate ages, are they teenagers, adults?
That's all we have time for. Thank you.
Yeah, right.
They're booking photos for me?
And then we will move into this, if there's any Spanish speakers.
Thank you again,
Okay.
Cynthia. Thank you so
Spanish,
much.
you guys can stay plugged in. We're going to do that right now.
We got more coming, trust me. I know you. Oh, yeah.
So Spanish is here.
But you know, we already have it.
Hola.
Oh, yeah, you know what?